Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is okay. In today's episode, I want to talk about a text that I first encountered during my undergraduate years in a gender studies class. It stayed with me not just because of what it says, but because of how it makes us think about everyday life in a different way. The text is about gender rituals. And what I find really interesting is that it begins with a simple but powerful idea. In some sense, all rituals are gendered. As long as we live in a world where identities are shaped through gender, the way we experience rituals, whether religious, cultural, or even everyday practices, is also shaped by that. At first, gender might seem like something natural, something we are simply born with, but theorists like Judith Butler challenge this idea. She argues that gender is not just something we have, but something that is continuously produced through culture, language, and repeated actions. In other words, gender is not fixed, it is performed. And this is where rituals become especially important. Rituals are not only symbolic acts, they actively construct and reinforce social meanings. For example, many religious rituals mark gender from a very early stage in life. A child is not only welcomed into a community, but also into a gendered identity. These rituals draw boundaries, often subtly, between what it means to be male or female within a given culture. Then we have what we might rites of passage, moments like puberty ceremonies. These are especially powerful because they don't just mark biological change, they assign social meaning to that change. A girl becoming a woman, for instance, is not only about the body, the but about expectations, roles, and responsibilities that come with that identity. What I find particularly thought provoking is how rituals don't just establish gender, they also reaffirm it. Think about something like a wedding ceremony. It's not just about two people coming together. It often reflects and reinforces ideas about masculinity, femininity, and the roles each person is expected to play within a relationship. But the text doesn't stop there. It also explores how rituals can challenge or problematize gender. There are rituals where gender roles are inverted, where men perform actions traditionally associated with women or vice versa. These moments are fascinating because they reveal that gender roles are not as stable or natural as they might seem. Instead, they are flexible and sometimes even contradictory. And then when we move into more contemporary discussions, especially after feminist movements, we see how gender rituals began to change. New rituals emerge, old ones are questioned, some are rejected, others are reimagined. For example, there have been efforts to create parallel rituals for girls in traditions where they were previously excluded. At the same time, discussions around LGBTQ identities have pushed us to rethink gender altogether, beyond binary categories. So, when we look at all of these together, rituals become much more than traditions. They become a kind of language, a way through which societies communicate, negotiate, and sometimes contest ideas about identity. And I think this is why I find this topic so meaningful. Because once you start noticing these patterns, you begin to see that gender is not just something out there in theory. It's embedded in daily life, in a ceremony, in a habit, in expectations, even in the smallest repeated actions. So this text invites us to ask a very simple but important question. Are we just participating in rituals, or are those rituals shaping who we are? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.